Hello, WhatsOnStage Podcast listeners. It is Alex here, coming to you with a special bonus episode as we hit the midweek. Two very interesting things happened in the last 10 days. First of all, on Sunday the 6th of April, the Olivier Awards winners were crowned at the Royal Albert Hall, a shining moment for London theatre, coming alongside another year of record attendance levels for the West End. Numbers released recently by the Society of London Theatre show that 2024 and 2023 both saw West End figures up compared to pre-pandemic levels. Yesterday, however, a new report from the BBC found that subsidised theatres across the UK have been programming 31% fewer shows than 10 years ago, marking a significant decline in programming levels for some of the biggest and most renowned publicly supported theatres in our country. As such, a complicated and evolving picture for the state of UK theatre is emerging. It is in this context that I wanted to talk to some of the Olivier Award winners about their experiences bringing shows to London. Whilst a huge triumph to pick up that coveted statue, each of the shows that succeeded did so with grit and determination, and for the producers, writers and performers, it often involved having to steel themselves and push on despite obstacles in their way. Three questions emerged as far as I could tell: the state of new writing and what it's like for new work to be programmed in the UK, and what themes or ideas venues are having to come up against when they're programming work, or what they're having to think about in order to make successful shows. Finally, I wanted to know what it was like for emerging artists to present new work, and how it felt trying to triumph in the West End, and what might be going wrong or changing about the theatre ecology compared to, say, 10 years ago. My first port of call was the team behind Giant, the hit play that opened at the Royal Court last autumn and is due to a transfer into the West End later this year. Mark Rosenblatt won for his new play, whilst John Lithgow picked up the award for Best Actor in a Play and Elliot Levey won the award for Best Supporting Actor in a Play. I wanted to know what it was like sitting at the heart of David Byrne's first season at the Court and how it has been now transferring the show into the West End. It was Elliot Levey that understood the significance of what David Byrne had been programming.
David Byrne and Will Lewis are really good news. I mean, they're really good news. And they are solid and clever and canny. And I think they've got something. It's funny, I'm playing Tom Mashler, and Tom Mashler was around in the heyday of the Royal Court. He was there. And he was the reason, he essentially was the reason that the phrase "the angry young men" got coined, because he decided to publish John Osborne. And so these guys were snappy and hungry, and they knew the game. They knew they were in Slane Square, in the heart of Poshton, and they knew how to do radical chic. They knew that if you get Laurence Olivier to play your lead, that lot will come. The ones you need to come, the ones that don't want a radical message. And so I think David and Will have got that. And this play is all those things. It's all those things. What they've stumbled across here, not stumbled across, what they've engendered is a play that is everything you want it to be. It's a thriller. It's comic. It's as topical as you can get. And it's moving, and people come out with their minds changed. I think they're going to find more. That's my hope.
John Lithgow has similar feelings about working alongside director Nick Heitner, David Byrne, and everyone else at the Royal Court.
Couldn't be a greater success for David Byrne and Nick Heitner and Mark Rosenblatt. We had workshops to play, and Elliot and I were both involved in the workshop about a year before it got to the court, and then Nick was methodically going through the process of sussing out the best situation for her. And Byrne, who'd just been hired as the new director, he got wind of that play. And with the 5-year history of problems with anti-Semitism at the Royal, or how it was dealt there, he was desperate to have this play. David Byrne is the perfect person to take over the court, because that's exactly the court's role, is to find great writers with big ideas and are fearless and stand behind them.
The Royal Court is a national portfolio organisation, so it does receive funding from the Arts Council of England. As such, it's very interesting to see how it's changing its programming model and what it's doing differently under a new leadership. It was an important win for Mark Rosenblatt, writing his debut play about a knotty, thorny subject and not knowing whether or not venues would pick it up.
This started with me in the kitchen for years, writing a play on my own with no sense of any certainty or any assurance about it. And just tearing my hair out and hoping that I could write a play, and hoping that the time and effort I was putting into it was worth it. And then every moment of it moving forward, when Nick read it for the first time and said he would like to direct it, was never an expectation. None of this was an expectation.
Another huge new writing success came in the form of The Years, which opened at the Almeida Theatre in North London and is now playing out its final weeks in the West End. Its director and adapter, Elena Arbo, won the award for Best Direction. She reflects on what it's like bringing the show to London and the state of UK theatre and its relationship with the continent.
I think it's amazing to see that this kind of story, you can tell this kind of story, the West End, that's something extraordinary. That, it's a story about a normal woman's life, and to be able to have that is just amazing to see the way that the audiences are reacting to it. I think it's just amazing. I'm very happy.
I think I'm very happy that we have this cultural exchange. I think that's so important. I think, you see now, politicians also kind of close the borders, also cutting in the subsidies, and I think it's so important to have this cultural exchange, to really have in the arts and culture different perspectives on how to live together. And we really have to keep doing this, because it could easily just, we're just closing it up and it doesn't develop in the same way. So I'm very happy to be able to have shown this piece to a British audience in this way and to see how they respond.
On now to my second question, how exactly venues are responding to the new changes in the theatre landscape. Yes, there may be increased audience attendance levels, but there are also rising costs and increased pressures in every single aspect of the theatre world. One of the huge winners at the Olivier Awards was Jordan Fine's production of Fiddler on the Roof, which opened at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre last summer. It is due to return with a new run at the Barbican Theatre ahead of a UK tour. The win comes at a very pivotal time for Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, which isn't part of the national portfolio, as new artistic director Drew McConey unveils his inaugural season at the venue. What exactly did Executive Director James Pidgeon have to say about what audiences can expect in 2025?
Drew has come in as the new artistic director with full force, with immensely brilliant new ideas, which you can already see bubbling throughout this year's programme, with sharp notes, a real statement of intent around bringing a show from Woolwich. It's the first time that we've done that, the open air theatre. We're going from wheat into corn, so there's a crop theme that's emerging. And we go into rehearsals first thing tomorrow morning, for shucks. So we are back to it. We're very excited.
Was it one of the conversations quite early on in your tenure that you were going to have a Fiddler on the Roof, or was it, what was the conversation there?
Yeah, do you know what? We first had a conversation about Fiddler on the Roof in May 2022. So it was 2 and a bit years before it actually premiered at the Park. And that was back when Tim was still artistic director, and we knew we wanted to do Fiddler, and Tim thought of Jordan to direct, and then here we are. And we could not have foreseen this journey. I mean, obviously, to be the most nominated revival in Olivier's history, and then to have the future life of the work as well, and it's going to the Barbican this August and then on a 24-week tour. It's just blown our minds, and we're so incredibly proud of it at Regent's Park. We really are.
And Jordan, one of the things that I adored about the production, I think I actually listed it as one of my favourite of last year, so coming at it as a fan, was just the way that it blends the anachronistic with the very contemporary, with the very historical, as if history itself is in flux around this community. What was the drive for you? Where did you start? What was the conversation that first made you think about the way you were going to stage this production?
Yeah, I think it is my family story. My grandmother, who's 94 now, her parents came over from right outside of Kyiv in a town much like Anantevka, and it just feels really present for me. And I think, this piece has such a special place in so many people's hearts because it is biblical in some ways. It evokes an ancestry, and I think, especially right now, it's just so important that we hold on to that and remember where we came from so we can figure out where we're going.
Fiddler on the Roof ended up being one of Regent's Park Open Air Theatre's most commercially successful productions in its history, and it's sure to have a very successful life as it continues on. It also highlights how venues can sometimes tap into the zeitgeist or the current topics in the world and say something important and pivotal, and therefore attract audiences through different means. I wanted to turn now to my third question: how emerging artists and shows can find audiences and grow and develop, a question that's incredibly pertinent to The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which won 3 Olivier Awards at the Royal Albert Hall. I start with composer Darren Clarke, who helped oversee the show from its intimate confines at Southwark Playhouse, on then to the larger space at Southwark Playhouse Elephant, and finally into the West End at the Ambassadors Theatre.
Well, there we were in the little Southwark Playhouse, and then in the Elephant. I think it's a testament to all the people who are making new musicals in the UK at the moment. Like, there are so many amazing writers, and there's just this wonderful community, and we all know each other, and we all support each other, and I feel like that is just so important in the way that we move things forward, and to have this sort of recognition is like, it's for those guys. Like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. Like, we wouldn't be here. What they do is they keep you, they buoy you up when you just can't be bothered to keep on going anymore because it's so high. Like, they are the ones who keep you going, and it's just, it feels amazing to be part of that community, and then to have this sort of recognition for them as well.
Darren Clarke's co-lyricist on the production is Jethro Compton, who also wrote the book, directs the musical, and is the stage designer for the show. Compton had thoughts about how the off-West End space is far scrappier, but also gives you the freedom to create shows in a way that you might not be able to at regional venues. He perhaps highlights something very important about the theatre ecosystem and the West End going forwards.
I think it takes so many people to make something like this happen. What I did in 2019 as a producer was sort of what I could do at that time with the finances I had available, the resources I had available, and it took then a load of other people to see the vision that Darren and I had for this piece, even in its sort of rougher form in 2019, and to really buy into that vision and to buy into us and to people that have never worked. Well, I've never worked professionally in the UK until this, and to give me the opportunity as a director, as a set designer, as a writer, and as a producer with them as well, for them to get behind me and behind us and behind what we've written. Took a lot of people, they had to really overcome a lot of the obvious challenges and doubts that one would have.
It took a lot of trust.
It took a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Twice now in a row, we've had musicals coming from the off-West End and winning Olivier Awards for Best New Musical. Last year, of course, it was Operation Mincemeat, which also played at Southwark Playhouse as part of its journey into the West End. Now we get it again with The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
I think that traditional models of creating musicals in subsidised theatres or regional houses is becoming very, very difficult because the cost of making shows is going up and the risk is increasing all the time. So I think for producers to use that traditional route to the West End is becoming quite difficult. And actually, on the fringe, where things can be done in a slightly scrappier way and they can really focus on the heart of a show and not need to worry about filling an 800-seat theatre, and people can take risks there, as I did, as we did, to create something that is different and doesn't come out of that same sort of package formula.
Well, there's huge risks, but I'll just add, Jethro is like an extraordinary human being. He risked everything on this show. He put all of his own money into it. He had nothing left once he put the money in. Nothing. And that is just, it's not something that everyone is, capable of doing. And it's just extraordinary. It's difficult, I think, that it took that sort of a risk to get, and it would be nice if in the future people didn't have to take that sort of level of risk. But, it's a testament to the man.
Does this mean that commercial producers have found the patience and versatility required in order to allow shows to take the time to grow, like they did in the case of Operation Mincemeat and the curious case of Benjamin Button? This, therefore, might highlight the fact that subsidised venues across the UK, if they're facing major financial pressures, simply can't invest in talent development in ways that they once did, and it falls, therefore, to the commercial sector to try and find work and amplify it onto a national level. What this will mean going forward is anyone's guess. Thankfully, we still have commercial producers that are willing to put in the time to find the shows that can become huge phenomena, as Operation Mincemeat, Benjamin Button, and shows like Six have done. In the meantime, there's plenty of exciting theatre from across the UK all coming up, so make sure you like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment and rate us wherever you can. We'll be back with regular episodes every Friday and a smattering of bonus episodes in between. Have a fantastic rest of your week.